Jackie, do you have a short video to show?
This will be shared by Colin Clark.
Okay, Colin, please.
Yep, here we go.
Thanks.
Share sound.
Due to COVID-19, this meeting will be conducted as a Zoom meeting pursuant to the provisions of the Governor's Executive Order N-2920, which suspends certain requirements of the Brown Act. This meeting is being live-streamed on the CCTA website. The chair will call upon members, staff, and other speakers by name. Please speak clearly and state your name before giving comments or remarks. Persons participating via Zoom with their cameras enabled are reminded that their activities are visible to viewers. Members participating by Zoom wishing to speak should physically raise their hand and unmute their mic when called upon. Members should remute their mics when done speaking. Citizens participating by Zoom wishing to speak should use the Raise Hand feature or dial *9 if participating via phone, and the chair or staff will call upon them at the appropriate time. Citizens will have 3 minutes to speak. A 30-second warning will be provided. After 3 minutes, staff will lower their hand and mute their mic. Participants via phone will be called upon by the last 4 digits of their phone number. It is requested that public speakers state their names and organization, but providing such information is voluntary. Written public comments received in accordance with the COVID-19 Special Notice for Public Comment Guidelines are printed on the meeting agenda. If authors of the written correspondence would like to speak, they should raise their hand and the chair will call upon them at the appropriate time. All written correspondence received after that and during the meeting will be entered into the record. A roll call vote will be taken for all action items. Thank you for participating in a meeting of the Contra Costa Transportation Authority.
All right, thank you for that. We'll move on to roll call here. Jackie, if you could take roll call, please.
Thank you. Okay, Chair Sarmiento.
Here.
Vice Chair Pinkham. Oh, you're muted.
I'm sorry, and I am here.
All right, thank you. Committee Member Riley. Committee Member Olson.
Present.
Committee Member Keeshan. Committee Member German.
Here.
Committee Member Foster.
Here.
Committee Member Dugan.
Present.
Committee Member Arce.
Hi, it's present, and it's Arce.
Arce, thank you. Okay, so we have Committee Member Riley absent, Committee Member Keeshan absent, and we do have our quorum, so thank you.
All right, thank you for that, Jackie. All right, the next item on the agenda is public comment. Jackie, have we received any public comments for the meeting?
No public comments.
All right, thank you. If there's anybody wishing to speak during public comment on an item that is not part of the agenda, please raise your hand and staff will call upon you. All right, Oli?
Yeah, this is Ole Olson. Could we introduce or allow the others to introduce themselves who haven't been part of the roll call and yet are on the screen, please?
Okay, I think we could accommodate that. So Jackie, if you want to do a roll call for the non-CBPAC members who are on the call, please.
Yes, let's see. We have Jerry Fahey.
Yes, Jerry Fay with Contra Costa County Public Works.
We have Matthew Fesky. Okay. All right. And we have Jeff Valeros.
Hi, Jeff Valeros here, Contra Costa Public Works.
And then we have our CCTA staff, John Huang.
Hi, everyone.
Terry Ann Grover,
Hello.
and we have Colin Clark.
Morning, everyone.
And you can call me Jackie. Did I miss anybody? Sorry.
Thank you.
All right, thank you for that, Jackie. Any other public comment? Okay, looks like none. We'll move on to the next item here, which is the approval of the summary of actions from the November 23, 2020 meeting. Does anyone have any changes, comments that they'd like to share? If so, please raise your hand. All right, looks like we don't have any comments or changes or questions. Can I get a motion for this item?
So moved.
All right, a motion by Adam. Can I get a second, please?
Second, Sean Dugan.
Second by Sean. All right, thank you. Jackie, if you could take a roll call vote, please.
Sure, thank you. Committee Member Arce,
Aye. Yes.
Committee Member Dugan,
Aye.
Committee Member Foster,
Hi.
Committee Member German,
Okay.
Committee Member Keeshan, Committee Member Olson,
Aye.
Committee Member Riley, Vice Chair Pinkham,
Aye.
Chair Sarmiento.
Yes.
Okay, the motion passes unanimously with Committee Member Keeshan absent and Committee Member Riley absent.
Okay, thank you for that. All right, we'll move on to item 4, the regular agenda items. We have item 4A. This item is a review of the complete streets checklist for 6 unincorporated county projects. We have Jeff Valeros here and also Jerry Fahey, who will present an update on this item. So Jeff, I think you're the lead on this, so I'll let you go ahead.
And Chair Sarmiento, if I can just quickly introduce it also.
Okay.
So there's an MTC resolution 3765 from 2006 that requires complete streets checklists to be reviewed by the CBPAC, and the 2011 bylaws for our CBPAC also mention the complete streets checklist review task or duty. So you'll be seeing these in some of the coming agendas. And so today's 6 of the county projects that have been submitted for ATP funding, and you'll see some more over the next few months. But Jeff has 6 projects, and he's going to go from west to east, right, Jeff?
There it is. Yep.
Do you want me to list off the 6 or let you kick it off?
I can go ahead and kick it off.
Go for it.
That's not a problem. Hi. So good morning, committee. My name is Jeff Valeros, Associate Civil Engineer with Contra Costa County Public Works in our Transportation Engineering Division. So I was a big part of submitting our 6 grant applications for the Active Transportation Program Cycle 5. It came to my attention that a lot of these materials provided in the agenda packet that I downloaded this morning. So do stop me if you have any questions in the middle of my presentation. I'm just kind of just go, as Colin said, west, east, and kind of just show you where these projects are within the county, and open for any feedback regarding the complete streets checklist. So in the packet. So I'll go ahead and share my screen. I'm a big visual person, so I like showing my screen a lot as to where they are. So the 6 applications that we submitted were all throughout the unincorporated pockets. As a refresher, so there was the call projects in March 26th last year, with the applications due June 15th. However, due to the COVID pandemic, these applications were submitted on September 15th. So reading through the requirements of the grant, the county staff identified 6 projects that would be suitable for ATP consideration. Basically, all of these projects are within disadvantaged communities because if they are not, the likelihood of them winning is pretty difficult. So without further ado, I'll just go ahead and jump straight into our 6 projects. And everyone can see my Google Earth, hopefully, correct? At least one thumbs up. I see a nod from Jackie. That's good. Excellent. So our first project to kick it off is our Market Avenue Complete Streets project. And so this is located in North Richmond between Fred Jackson Way here to the west and 7th Street. We worked closely with the community as to what their needs were, and there was an overwhelming support for more walking in this area. So this project proposes to widen these substandard sidewalks because families and kids going to school have difficulty walking side by side. And as part of that project to help calm traffic, I might be jumping in and out quite a bit. So this project also proposes to put in curb extensions or bulb outs along Market Avenue and Giramita because that is the main road that leads into Verde Elementary School. If anyone has any questions about this, I'll feel free to speak up. Otherwise, I'll go ahead and jump to the next one. Excellent. So our second project that we had submitted was for the Appian Way Corridor pedestrian crossing enhancements. And so
Sorry, Jeff,
for this project,
I believe there was a question, and I also just have a quick one. Is the goal to just review each of the projects, or is the committee going to provide a recommendation for one of the 6?
Colin, you want to help out here?
So the bylaws and the MTC resolution use the term review. So if there are any comments, the sponsor agency will do their best to see if they can address those comments following the meeting. Yeah. Does that help?
Got it. Yeah, thanks. I believe the vice chair had a question as well.
Just an informative, a lot of people think that North Richmond is part of Richmond, but it is in fact unincorporated, like it shows in the list. For those of you who didn't know.
Correct. Yes. The unshaded area is the unincorporated pocket.
And I see I have a question from Oli.
Yeah, Ole Olson, committee member. My concern is with the bulb outs. We don't want the bulb outs to extend so far into the street that it forces the bicyclist into the area for cars. We have no problem with bulb outs, but we don't want to use up all the bicycle space that exists. Could Jeff respond to that?
Yeah, that's a good comment. I did fail to mention. So in the alternatives that we presented to the North Richmond Municipal Advisory Council, we had proposed widened sidewalks. However, in this case, with widened sidewalks, there'd be no room for Class 2 bike lanes. If we were to propose Class 2 bike lanes along this segment, that would require removal of parking just within the widths that were there. And the community was very, very vocal that they did not want to lose any parking in the area. So our middle ground that we've come to was with the widened sidewalks with the Class 3 sharrows along the segment.
I have no problem with not having Class 2 bike lanes, but I am concerned that you're going to have only 12-foot traffic lanes caused by the bulb outs. And so the bicyclists will be forced out into the traffic lane in front of cars, which is not a good thing. So assure me that if you're going to have bulb outs, that traffic lane will be 14 feet at the bulb out spot, and I'll be a happy camper and quit bothering you.
Let me go ahead and pull up the layout that I have here. So this is our proposed layout with the widened sidewalks. And so we have, I believe, 11-foot travel lanes already here. And then, yeah, 11-foot travel lanes, 8-foot parking maintained on both sides, and then the shared lane markings so that bicyclists can share the road. There was just no way. Currently, bicyclists do already travel along this segment, my understanding, without bike lanes.
Hi, Jeff. This is Sean Dugan, and through the chair, Robert. I think you're sharing something that I'm not seeing. I think it's still on the Google image.
Thank you. Yes.
Same here.
It looks like I was hoping I could share screen too. I'm gonna have to toggle back and forth. So sorry about that, Sean. Sorry about that, committee.
Thanks for that comment, Sean. I was going to say the same thing. So
Yeah.
Okay, we could see it now, Jeff.
So within existing 38-foot width, all we could really manage to squeeze in to maintain the parking with the widened sidewalks is 11-foot travel lanes, as well as the parking on both sides.
Okay, this is Ole again through the chair. It doesn't look to me like you have any serious bulb outs at each of these corners.
Oh, yes. The only location that would have a bulb out is just for the kids to cross for Verde Elementary. So you can see that right here with Yarameda Street. And the purple outline moves over. So the bulb outs, I hear your comment. Yes, the bulb outs only go as far as into the parking. They don't encroach any further. So bicycle circulation should be maintained.
Could we continue to talk about this? It appears that the bulb out goes right out to the edge of the 11-foot traffic lane. Am I reading this diagram correctly?
These are just preliminary layouts, and they'll be refined as they move over to make sure that they meet design standards. So then this isn't definite how it does move up to that travel lane. There could be some wiggle room if we were awarded and move forward with this project.
Okay, well, I want to go on record as expressing serious concern that the bulb out is going to force the bicyclist into the 11-foot traffic lane. We want a couple of feet of non-11-foot traffic lane, which is space for the bicyclist to go between the traffic lane and the bulb out. I understand that this will then give a little bit longer distance for the pedestrian to walk, but there are trade-offs on all sides here. If you wanted to put a curb cut in the front and the back of each bulb out so that the bicyclist could go over the bulb out without going into the 11-foot traffic lane, I don't know if that would meet design specifications, but that would be acceptable to me. What bicyclists do not want is sacrificing bicyclist safety for pedestrian safety. We want a trade-off here. We'll go half and half. Please, thank you.
All right, Sean.
Thanks for spending so much time on this one, Jeff. I have two comments. One is that it appears that the design is already requiring the bicyclists to share the lane with the sharrows, and so that otherwise they would be conflicting with parked cars. So I just want to make that comment. I think since that's already a proposal here, the bulb out really isn't affecting a current bike lane or a shoulder because it's not proposing that there be one at all. And then a general comment on this, Jeff, is that I know on Fred Jackson Way there is a class 2, and I'm not sure how that street's categorized if it's considered a complete street at this point or not. But I think it would really help in presenting this if you showed the connectivity with these improvements to other existing improvements. And then, you know, we from the Park District's perspective, we really are we're interested in working with local jurisdictions to show the connectivity to our regional trails. So anyway, I just thought I'd give you that general comment. Thanks.
Okay. Yeah, I'll be sure to do that moving forward for the project for the connectivity. Okay.
Robert, I have
if I may.
question.
All right, we have one more question from Adam. Go ahead.
I wonder, Oli and Jeff, generally, I don't like sharrows. They're not 8 through 80 facilities. They're kind of a last resort. Someday we won't have to factor in parking, but today we still do. And I wonder if, to address Oli's concern, given that the traffic volumes and the speeds of this street probably aren't appropriate for sharrows, if it could be a worthwhile area to consider doing like a green sharrow that pops out a little bit more. That way, when you get to the pinch point of the bulb outs and just along the general area, not having a class 2, there's that added visual cue to people driving and people interested in biking that this is a bicycle boulevard shared environment. That's all.
Okay. Yeah, I jotted that comment down. Definitely one that we'll consider. Thank you.
Could I make one
Okay.
final comment, please?
Oli, okay. Final comment, then we'll have to move on to the next line. But go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Sorry.
No worries.
The average car width is 6.5 feet. If he leaves 6 inches between his car and the curb, that means we've got a foot to play with. For a bicyclist, that's the difference between being hit by a car and not being hit by a car. So how about pulling these bulb outs back a foot? And then I'd be a happy camper. And there isn't a car all the time in the parking area, but there is a concrete square curb all the time at the bulb out. The bicyclist is always forced into the traffic lane at the bulb out, but may or may not be forced into the traffic lane by the parked cars. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Oli. Yeah, Jeff, we want to move on to the your next project here.
Sure.
Thank you.
So our second project here, and I do have 6, so I'll try to move these along. We have this Appian Way corridor pedestrian crossing enhancements. And so this is consistent with our the complete street study that was done along this corridor, but to remain competitive, we've only decided to submit pedestrian crossings at this time. So pedestrian crossings, I believe it was in your gen pack, but I'll go ahead and share that again. So we identified 5 intersections would be good candidates, and there was along Appian Way, we have Garden Road, Santa Rita Road, Pebble Drive, Rincon Road, and Fun Way. And then you can kind of see some exhibits, some preliminary layouts. And so yes, these are bulb outs to have pedestrian with medium refuge islands on some of these locations to minimize the amount of time pedestrians need to be along the roadway. And there was consideration for bike lanes to try to make sure that doesn't encroach upon the existing class 2 bike lanes. And so a lot of these were identified at strategic places where like the county library is or where transit stops are. And this one kind of takes a little reorientation. So any questions about that project, I guess? Okay, hearing none, I'll go ahead and move along. Oop. Sorry about that. I normally for Zoom, I can share my entire screen, but it looks like I have to share one at a time. So pardon the technical difficulties. So our next project that I would like to present is our San Pablo Dam Road pedestrian crossings. And so our engineer took a look at along this road. Existing roadway is 2 travel lanes in each direction with cars going relatively fast. There are bus stops located along this corridor, and some do connect to local schools. And so looking at the alternatives available, the only a double RF rectangular rapid flashing beacon was insufficient, so we would be proposing pedestrian hybrid beacons at these locations. So we have one at Leisure Lane, as well as one in front of Bristlecone. Any comments from the committee on that project? Okay, hearing none, I'll go ahead and move along. So our next project that we have is our San Pablo Avenue Complete Street project. So this project was part of a 2014 Complete Street study. And looking at alternatives, the existing roadway is 2 travel lanes in each direction, and it connects the community of Crockett up here to the north to Rodeo to the south that have a lot of shared facilities, including schools. And so this project is proposing to install a protected class 1 bikeway. And you can kind of see a typical section over here. So there would be a concrete barrier. We would do a road diet for this area, have it 1 traveling in each direction with 2 in pocket typically, as well as a shared use path. I get a thumbs up from Vice Chair Pinkham. Okay. Excellent. Moving on.
Actually, I have a question from Bill.
Oh, is this considered part, it looks like it should be, part of the San Pablo Avenue multimodal corridor project? This would be one section of it to the north.
I'm not very familiar with this, but I should have mentioned that this is part of the SF Bay Trail as well. That
Yeah.
It is closing a gap with part of the SF Bay Trail.
Anyway, it's a great project from my point of view. Traffic tends to go pretty fast along that section. It's a gorgeous section too, if you've never ridden in that area.
I have a question from Sean.
Just to comment, I 100% support this. And you know, the biggest, I think, hurdle was the refineries' concern about truck traffic and things. But this one is the only real logical way for the Bay Trail to go here, and it's 3 miles, so it's huge. And then a question for you, Robert. Would you prefer that we raise our hand visually like this, or would you like us to use the raise hand function in the participants drop down?
I think the latter would I probably know some more, but I mean, if people want to continue just raising their hands physically, that's fine. I'll be on the lookout. Thanks for asking.
Thank you. Yep.
All right. If no other questions, I think Jeff, you could move on to the next project. Oh, actually, I do have from Oli last second hand raise here. So
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Last second. I don't have a raise hand option on my computer here. So all I got is the physical waving. Thank you. This looks like a beautiful project, and go for it.
Yeah, we'll hear back from the statewide in February, and then the regional, I think, is in April. So we're crossing our fingers to hear some good news soon. I believe I have 2 more, or I have 3 more projects. 2, actually 2. So our 5th project that we submitted was for the Carquinez Middle School Trail Connection. And so the John Sweat Unified School District reached out to us to close a 1,000-foot gap along this multi-use, the Carquinez Scenic Loop Trail. And so it would provide connectivity for students accessing from the bus stop here to the north to Carquinez Middle School. There is a Willow High School, as well as East Bay Regional Park's trail, the Crockett Hills, I believe, out here. Currently, we understand that kids actually walk along the shoulder of Crockett Boulevard, so to access Willow High School. So we're definitely we had thought safety in mind. When we were outside, we definitely saw kids walking along here. So this path would be ADA compliant and allow kids to walk along this side here away from traffic to access Willow High School, as well as the trail. And then due to COVID, we couldn't really have many in-person meetings or tabling events, but we did do a electronic survey to get input from them. And I think overall there was overwhelming support for this project. Okay. And then the last project I'll present is the North Bailey Road Active Transportation Corridor. So this project proposes to narrow the existing 4 travel lanes and the median to accommodate a 2-way cycle track to the west and expanded sidewalks with a buffer zone to help pedestrian safety. I believe a lot of students travel along in this area to access Bel Air Elementary School. So we had that in mind. We also have destinations of BART to the south. So the original from the 2010 Bailey Road study had shown class 2 on both sides, but we wanted to be a little more progressive here and take our shot at a 2-way cycle track to the west.
Question, this is Bailey Road in Bay Point, and the interchange we're looking at is Highway 4?
We're looking north of Highway 4. This would just be between Willow Pass Road and Canal Road, a little past that, up to Highway 4.
Okay. And will we retain the marked shoulder on the street? Will there be space in the street for the bicyclist or only on this cycle track?
There would still be the, let me switch shares here. So with this rendering, we have Willow Pass north is pointing to the left. We have the sidewalks in purple. There would still be the bike lane going northbound, but there would also be the additional cycle track to the west. Shown is lighter blue shade.
Okay, north is to the left on this picture.
Yeah.
Okay, so the cycle
A
track.
little north arrows, maybe a little too hidden.
The cycle track is on the west side of the street, the climbing side. There is a slight hill here.
This area is relatively flat, I believe.
In a car.
Along Bailey Road?
On a bicycle, it's a hill.
Oh,
Sorry. Okay, so what are you going to do in front of the church just before we get to Canal Road?
So in front of the church, that would be a conflict point that would need to be designed. There would still, I believe we would still maintain access at this moment. There should have been a break in this layout here.
Okay.
Or am I too far north? I think that's
The rest of the street is fine the way it is, but in front of that church is definitely a pinch point. Because the East Bay Regional Park Delta de Anza Trail is on that side of the street also. And the sidewalk is very narrow and the utility poles encroach and it's tight, tight, tight right there. But if you're going to assure me that we're going to have this cycle track all the way to Canal Road, I'm a happy camper. You're doing a great job, Jeff. Thank you.
Thank you.
Jeff, this is Robert. I do have a question. Is there going to be any kind of traffic control at the intersection of the cycle track and Delta de Anza Trail? Because I'm assuming you don't want bicycles flying through at that, you know, hitting each other, potentially hitting each other at that intersection.
It's already signals there for pedestrians to cross.
Okay.
And the trail.
But I mean, between the cycle track and the trail and the trail itself, the existing trail and the cycle track, is there going to be like a stop sign or anything for?
Yeah, the design elements will be further refined just for the preliminary application.
Okay.
We're just presenting this time, but yes, it would meet. There would be further refinements to this.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
So I know the agenda item was to review the complete streets checklist, but I feel like we had to kind of go through the projects without, in order to effectively jump into this checklist. So I guess, yeah, does the committee have any questions on these projects or any checklists that they haven't spoken of so far?
Oli?
Yeah, sorry to keep harping on this, but the very first project you talked about on Market Street, if you build the bulb out all the way out to the edge of the 11-foot traffic lane, you are not building a complete street. You're building a death trap for one mode of transportation, the bicyclist, forced out into the street by a concrete square curb.
And that was a tricky thing. We really wanted to listen to the community on the multimodality balance behind it. So we did present what it would take to put in bike lanes in this area. And the community was very, very vocal on their pedestrians and having their kids walk to school and have a safe space and buffer from traffic. So we were kind of pinched, Oli. We tried to accommodate every single one. But
Understood. Okay, I know you're doing your best, Jeff. I'm not attacking you personally, but maybe we could put a dashed 4-foot wide green bike stripe into the traffic lane around this bulb out.
Oli, I do have Jerry's raising his hand, so Jerry Fahey may have some additional comments.
Yeah, because I've heard this concern of Oli's in the past, and I think that's something we can look at as we get further into the design of this project. I do like your recommendation of the 4-foot green stripe of some sort, but my first thought was, like we've done in others, is to pull that curb face back a foot or two.
Yeah, a foot or two is all it takes. It doesn't have to be a regulation width Caltrans standard 5-foot bike lane from the curb. Just a little bit of space is fine. The width of a human being on a bicycle is only 2.5 feet.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, thanks for that. The comment, Oli. Does anybody else have any? I see Sean has a hand up or a question, comment, Sean?
Yeah, just a quick question. Is there a standard for bulb outs? Is there a standard? I don't really know how to. This is my city street. I'm showing my city street naivete here, but is there a standard width that you try to shoot for in a bulb out when you do that, or is it just you try to get 2 traffic lanes, or you try to minimize the distance for pedestrians to walk, or is it just sort of like field fit, where you try to do the best you can for each situation?
Referencing the highway design, I know that for just existing class 2 bike lanes, that yes, the bulb out shouldn't intrude into the bike lane. That's I think off the top of my head, but when there is none, I don't know that answer immediately.
I would just add for Sean, I think they are kind of field fit because we'll have to deal with drainage as well.
All right, have a question from Ozzy, or a comment, question?
Yeah, thanks. I can share some of Oli's concerns as well in trying to play it out in a scenario in real life. I'm sure as many of us are bike riders ourselves, but I can also see what Sean, the point that Sean brought up about the street kind of lending itself to that design, considering how it's a sharrow. So I'm kind of in the middle here, but I just want to throw my support for any improvements. I know this is the bike and ped group, and I think Jeff, you casted a good variety of bike and ped projects here, and putting 6 grant proposals together is no small feat. And so I just want to send you kudos for being a part of that team. But overall, I think the projects are moving in the right direction. Thanks.
I have to echo RC's compliment for Jeff. You're doing a great job. Any space you can allow for the bicyclist is better than nothing. Right now, it looks like the design has nothing, just a little something, and the bicyclist will be way happier. Thank you.
All right, any other questions or comments? I have a question actually for Colin, and I'm curious, with this checklist, is there anything, any action we have to take, or two, is there anything further the committee here has to do with these checklists or these projects?
It does not appear that we need to take it to the full authority board. So there's no action required in terms of recommending approval to the authority board. But I think if comments can be summarized in terms of what you all said today, so that each sponsor agency can look into it. It's up to you in terms of next steps.
Okay. So, and thanks for confirming. I guess just for my information, just to know, moving forward, because I know we'll be hearing similar projects from other jurisdictions in the future. So thank you on that. If there are no other questions or comments for Jeff, I think we can move on to the next item. But yeah, if anybody has any final questions or comments. Okay. All right.
Sure.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you, Jeff, for the.
I'll share my email if needed, and feel free to reach out if anything does come to mind later on.
All right. Thanks, Jeff. Appreciate that. All right. We will move on to the next item here, item 4B, an update on the Caltrans District 4 pedestrian plan with a draft for public review available, available for comments by February 5th, 2021. Colin, I guess this is your item to provide an update on.
Yeah, so we didn't include all the materials in the packet, but we do have hyperlinks that we can email if people are interested. I guess I just wanted to keep this on all of your radar to see if you as CBPAC want to coordinate to compile comments before February 5th.
Thanks for informing us about this. I see we have Oli is that a hand raise, Oli? Okay.
Yeah, that's a hand raise. I have commented over 50 times through the Caltrans site. It's a very easy to use site. I urge everyone to make comments, specific comments about the width of bulb outs would be helpful. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Oli. Any other questions or comments for this item? All right, looks like no further hands raised. So we'll move on to item 4C, an update on MTC's Active Transportation Working Group. Colin, I think this is your item as well.
Yeah, thank you. So on January 21st, last Thursday, the MTC ATWG, we met. There was a presentation on the San Mateo Countywide Sustainable Streets Master Plan. So that's something I can send out if anyone wants to reach out. Let me know. The next item on that agenda was the Safe and Seamless Mobility Quick Strike and OBAG 3. So basically, the federal funding that came through in 2016 and was approved by our CCTA board in 2017 in terms of OBAG 2 cycle. There has been an announcement from MTC of an additional $55 million or so anticipated in additional funding. And so CCTA's programming specialist has been working on, director, I should say, is working on putting together a list for recommendation to MTC, and CCTA staff has been working to look back at the OBAG 2 cycle that was approved in 2017, and for the projects that met all of the criteria at that time and were kind of vetted and reviewed through the RTBCs and through the board. Those are the type of projects that are being looked at for potentially consideration by MTC, but ultimately MTC decides who gets funded, which projects get funded. Yeah, so just wanted to give you an update on that. So that's the OBAG 2 portion. The OBAG 3 is in the works, and I'll keep you updated in the next several months as we hear more about that. But MTC is working on that. The next item on that MTC Active Transportation Working Group meeting was the Caltrans District 4 pedestrian plan. I just want to kind of keep this on everyone's radar that I am helping to represent CCTA on the pedestrian plan working group, but as I mentioned earlier, there is a draft for public review that you yourselves can access and comment on. So the last item in that agenda was the active transportation plan update, which segues nicely into item D on our agenda. So CCTA sits on the Regional Active Transportation Plan Working Group, or Technical Advisory Committee, which was kicked off January 7th. And let me see if I can pull up something. So there was a very good kickoff meeting that was highly interactive. One of the things about, I guess, using Zoom and all these other technologies is that we were able to use an online interactive kind of design workspace to collaborate. So it was a very effective meeting, and I would just continue encouraging all of you, as you have suggestions, feel free to reach out, and I can make sure that that's shared, through that process and everything. Equity was something that was mentioned to be, of importance as we kick off this regional active transportation plan, getting more kids and women biking, safe routes to school, other non-infrastructure investments, connected bikeways, both off-street paths and on-street bikeways, walkable neighborhoods, 15 or 20 minute neighborhoods. You probably heard of that concept. Funding was a top topic that was brought up by many in terms of, it's good to have a plan, but funding to go with it. And so the suggestion was made, hopefully, that there could be some sort of ongoing funding commitment from MTC on some sort of annual basis, similar to like a repaving program or something like that for vehicles and on streets. Let's see if there's anything else. Yeah, so that's a quick overview of the active transportation plan at a regional level. And Chair Sarmiento, should I take questions on these before I get into item E?
Yes, if there are any of the committee members have any questions, comments for Colin. All right, do you have Ole has a hand raised?
Yeah, Committee Member Olson. The Bike East Bay, Dave Campbell, the advocacy director, urges CCTA to go forward with spending some of that $55 million that became available with I forgot the name of the program, but
Quick strike.
yeah, Quick Strike, let her rip. Bike East Bay is urging Quick Strike. We want some of that money.
Actually, to add to that, I have a comment, column, because I looked into that Quick Strike program, and it looks like it has to be a CCTA that provides, I guess, a list of candidate projects to MTC. Are you going to reach out to the local jurisdictions?
So Hisham is leading this effort, and so he's CCTA staff and he's the programming director, and he's coordinating with each of the jurisdictions to help put together that list.
Okay.
And as I said, it was working off of the existing lists of projects that hadn't yet been funded through OBAG 2 or Measure J. What is it? Cycle 2.
Okay. Will the local jurisdictions have an opportunity to review that list and nominate other projects if possible? Or maybe that's a question for Hisham, I guess.
Sure. Yeah, we can see if Hisham can respond to that.
Okay. Thank you. Bill?
Yeah, just to clarify this for me, Jerry and Ole and I are on the county BAC, and we look at various projects and critique them. And one of the things that we look very friendly, project is much more acceptable if there is matching funds. Now, are any of the, there we're doing mostly with TDA funds, are any of the ATP grants influenced in that way in terms of combining other funding sources? Does that happen? And if so, are those projects given preference?
In general, CCTA strongly encourages leveraging multiple funding sources. John, did you want to add to that?
No, go ahead, and then I can add to it. Just go ahead and finish what you're
that's all I was going to say is
Well, you mentioned the ATP grant, so that's a process that's ongoing, right? So those applications, those projects are being reviewed right now. So that's kind of separate from this bump that MTC is coming out with. Like Colin said, Hisham is leading the effort to look at projects that's already been submitted by the cities. And we're basically oversubscribed right now. I think we have about $7.4 million allocated to the county. And in addition to the projects proposed by the local agencies, MTC has approached us too and brought up at least 2 projects that I'm aware of near the Richmond area. Again, there's criteria set up for these type of projects. I don't know if you all have seen it or not, but we can certainly share with you. But a lot of these projects are obviously quick strike, bike ped related, in community of concerns, access related, making sure that folks can get access to transit stations and so forth. So there's a long list of criteria that the projects have to meet, and that's the process that we're going through to make sure that these projects not only meet those criteria, but the timing factor also. MTC originally asked for a really quick schedule, basically getting these out, because these are federal funds, getting these projects obligated by March of next year. By March of this year, actually, 2021, 22, I forgot the date. But anyways, we were able to extend that date by the fall. So we're working on that, and we certainly will release that when we do have a final project list.
Right. So September 30th of 2022 is the federal obligation deadline. John's been coordinating on that. And then in terms of where the roughly $7 million came from, I believe it was population based. So the $55 million ends up being for Contra Costa County, something about a little bit more than 14.6%, I think. Is that right, John?
Yeah, it's the same formula that's used for the OBAC cycle. So whatever percentage is 40.6%. You kept the same formula.
All right. Any other questions for Colin on this item? All right, Colin, John, thanks for that explanation. We will move on to, hold on one second here. Item D, update on the MTC Regional Active Transportation Plan. And Colin, I think that's update. You can provide this update.
Yeah, I kind of skipped ahead because there was a perfect segue. Sorry about that.
No worries.
I kind of covered that, but happy to take questions and comments on that.
All right. Doesn't look like there are any hands raised, so we'll just move on to item E. Any other business or information sharing? Does any of the committee members have any upcoming topics that they would like to discuss? All right, I don't see any hands raised. Colin, do you have any items in mind for the March meeting?
Yeah. So
actually, sorry to interrupt. Before you started cutting you off there, I see a hand from Ozzy here. Sorry, I missed that, Ozzy.
No worries. I just wanted to say hello, and I'm excited to be part of the group here. Like I said at the beginning of the meeting, a lot of familiar faces. I was nervous at the beginning of the meeting, but I think now with seeing so many people that I know and hearing a lot of the same thoughts that I have, we're sharing the same sentiment. So I'm excited and looking forward to being part of this committee.
All right. Thanks, Ozzy. I have Sean and I think Bill after, but Sean, go first.
Yeah, I was just going to ask Ozzy to say something because I wanted to welcome you, and it's good to see you here. Welcome to the group. And I was curious if you wanted to just give a quick background on where you're from and what how you got here.
and if I can quickly also insert that welcome to committee member Arce, who's representing TransPAC staff, just to be clear.
Yeah, so I work for the city of Walnut Creek as a transportation planner in their long range division. Been there for about 5 years. Lived in Oakland, ride BART every day, a biker myself, urban cyclist, and always a walker if I take BART every day. So definitely a great group to be a part of. I grew up in Northern California in a small town called Winters, if anyone's familiar with that town. So yeah, that's a little bit about me. Happy to be here.
All right. Thanks for that information, Ozzy. And apologies, I should have brought this up in the beginning instead of introducing at the end here. My apologies. Bill, did you have a hand raised or was I mistaken?
No, that was just a ditto and welcome.
Okay. Thank you. And Colin, I think I'll swing it back to you about any upcoming agenda items for the upcoming CBPAC meetings.
Yeah, and if I can add for committee member Arce, if we can plug Rethinking Mobility, right? You were the project manager for the City of Walnut Creek's transportation demand management citywide plan. Is that right?
Yeah, so CCTA grant funded a transportation demand management plan, and we formulated about 13 strategies that deal from multimodal to parking strategies under kind of the goal to reduce vehicle miles traveled. So it was a 2-year effort, and council adopted it just the end of last year. So glad for that.
Very good. And so in terms of the CBPAC vacancies, there are at least 2, and 2 of which that have been publicly announced on January 13th. And so there is a vacancy to represent people familiar with issues facing people with disabilities and people over the age of 65. So that's one spot on CBPAC that is vacant. And the second spot that was announced is to represent people familiar with issues of youth. And so that could be, a high school student in their junior year so that they can serve the full 2-year term, or that could be, a teacher or someone from the school district. We're kind of open to ideas, and just want to use this as another platform to help you all spread the word to have some more representation on this group.
Robert, through the chair. Yeah, are you saying that none of us are able to represent youth, Colin? Is that what I'm hearing?
Not at all.
No problem with the old people. Ollie,
Colin, are these 2 vacancies? Is something you want us committee members to advertise in our respective from our respective agencies?
Yeah, that would be fantastic. And community member Dugan, maybe I should use the term minors instead of youth. But yeah, absolutely. So basically on the CCTA website, if you go to the news link, you'll see the announcement for the 2 vacancies, and it's on all of our social media accounts, including LinkedIn and Twitter. So please, if you can include that in each of your local agencies and other advocacy groups and email lists, that'd be fantastic. So the deadline for application is currently January 31st, close of business 5 p.m. However, that may be extended if we haven't received enough applications for a competitive pool of applicants. I do have other items, but I want to leave some time for comments and questions on this item first.
Actually, Colin, I do have one follow-up question just with the youth or the minors vacancy. So you're saying it's okay to have high school students on there, I guess, as long as you're junior and above?
Yeah, so I'd have to double check in the bylaws, but when I looked at it last time, it was, purposely or otherwise written in such a way that it could allow for that interpretation to include high school students. And, given, the unique perspective from, that perspective, I think that would bring a lot of value to the group, and open to your input as to, who you think might be a good applicant or candidate. Because the authority board ultimately confirms and appoints these 2 positions.
Okay. Yeah, thanks for confirming that. Just wanted to make sure, because yeah, it's not our typical, type of appointment on the committee. So, but it'd be interesting to hear, a different and unique perspective from a minor. So, okay. Any other questions or comments for Colin on this item? All right, I don't see any hands raised. So Colin, you said there were other items you wanted to bring up?
Yeah, so we have a new executive director, Tim Hale, and he wanted to be here today, but had a scheduling conflict. So he looks forward to attending in March to be able to introduce himself to our CBPAC. And yeah, I think that's it for me today. Thanks, everyone.
All right, thank you, Colin. Anybody have any final questions or comments, either for Colin or just the committee as a whole?
I think this is the best meeting we've had all year.
I had to think about that for a second.
Yeah. Same here. It took me a second. All right. If there's no other,
I'm gonna see everybody back at the next meeting, so.
all right. Thank you. All right. If there are no other items to discuss, I think the meeting is adjourned here. I think for my clock here, I have 12:09. So let's adjourn, and the next regularly scheduled meeting will be on March